Just going to continue the live. I'll wait for some people to come in. All right, so how do I add? Okay, boom. All right.
Perfect.
Back. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So while they're coming back in, apologies for that happens sometimes. What happens is when I'm on with somebody else, it'll just shut down and it won't give me the countdown. So we are back, and we will pick up the conversation from where we left off. But the subject for today, for anybody who's joining us right now, is a man's perspective on relationships, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of times, always, well, not always, but a lot of times we don't have a voice in relationships, and we don't have a voice after relationships. A lot of men come into my practice and say the things that they never could say in relationships.
Yeah.
We don't talk about breakups the same way. We don't handle breakups the same way. I think women handle it right away. I said this on pretty much every live or every conversation. How women,
This is a good conversation.
look, your girls come over.
Yeah.
Yeah, your girls come over and we deal with it. Y'all deal with it right away. You know, you have your parties, you're in your pajamas, you have your wine, your chocolate, whatever it is, your ice cream, and you're dealing with this issue. Forget him, girl. Like, you can do better. Like, you get the motivation, you get all that right up front, right? And you deal with it, and you kind of isolate yourself with the people that love you, with the people that you love, and you give yourself an opportunity to kind of work through that and you process that. Men, you tell your homeboy, yo, we broke up. All right, let's go out. I got somebody else for you. Let's have some drinks. Let's go do this. Let's do that. Let's just ignore it. You can do better in a sense that in a negative sense, negative tone. And now we never really dealt with that issue. We're just carrying it. We're just carrying it. We're carrying it into the next relationship. We're carrying it to the next one night stand. We're carrying it into the next conversation at work with our friends, and we're just on edge. And then 6 months later, we're starting to feel it. You're already healed. We're starting to feel it. We're like, oh man, that hurt. Remembrance of what happened. Yeah, it's a cycle that we really need to address.
Tell us what happens with that, because I've always been curious with that as well, especially because from a feminine perspective, it can look like, dang, we just broke up. He's already with a new what? You know, oh, we just broke up. He's doing what? He's where? He's how? I'm over here, you know, in the gutter, like feeling my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And he's running with, you know, whatever. And it can look like, now, of course, more mature me understands, but I'm saying for those that who do not know, a little bit of insight on, because it can look like, wow, maybe he didn't care. Maybe he didn't love me the way that I thought he loved me. Maybe I didn't matter to him. Maybe this wasn't important to him, because that's what it looks like. It looks like if you just suffered a death, and because the woman is emoting, we're in our feelings, we're feeling our feelings, we're, you know, hugging people and keeping people close, and comfort foods, and, you know, Bridget Jones' Diary or whatever it is, we're going through a mourning process, and he's not. And so it looks like this did not affect him, which can translate into, I didn't matter, he doesn't care.
Right.
No part.
Right. And part of that too is that we're not taught to feel. So we're taught to push through those feelings, and we don't know how to process those feelings, so we just react. So we're emotionally inept in a sense, where we're just responding to different things, and we're just going about life. And yes, we're just trying to heal through another person, which causes more damage to not only ourselves, but the other person that we come in contact with.
Yes.
So while you're thinking that we're healed, we're just pretending, or we're just ignoring, and we're just not dealing with it. And if the relationship is over, at some point you got to say, I'm not paying attention to the person that I just broke up with. Yeah. I can't concentrate on their healing while I'm still going through my process.
Yeah. So how has that shown up kind of in your practice with the men that you deal with? Like when it does show up, when the pain finally hits, what does that look like?
Oh man, it's a lot. They tell them, whatever they used to do no longer works. It's a state of, depression, adjustment disorder with depression symptoms. So, they come in and say, I really need to talk about this. Can you relate? And I said, absolutely, let's talk about it. Because I've been there too. But me, I deal with it right away. And I'm more critical of myself as opposed to the other person because I don't see the other person, the relationship ends.
Right.
So I kind of give that example. I do some vulnerability. I do some, self-disclosure and some of those things. But and I tell them to really feel what you're feeling right now. What
Yeah.
is going on with you right now? And, they say, well, this happened. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the things that happened within the relationship that kept you there when you should have gone, when you
Yeah.
should have left. Let's talk about the things that happened that made you make the wrong decision, where that came from, your childhood. You saw your dad do a certain thing. You saw your uncles do a certain thing. You saw your mom do a certain things. You saw the community do a certain things. You've been programmed to operate in this way. So let's talk about it, kind of like unlearn these things and relearn how you're supposed to treat yourself. Because if we treat ourselves good, then we don't even enter in some of the relationships that aren't healthy for us.
Yeah. Something you said that I think is fantastic is initial sign being what I've always done isn't working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My coping mechanism isn't working
Yeah.
anymore. I can't find satisfaction in this escapism that I used to embrace. It's not
Right.
working. The satisfaction isn't there anymore. And now I'm realizing because I can't put a Band-Aid on it, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm depressed, I'm broken, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah. 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 And that's so huge. That's so huge is to sit there and really feel it and really understand what feelings are. And they're real. Like, because we can't say that we're human on one side and we want somebody to listen to us, but then we don't listen to ourselves and we just ignore our own feelings. How can we teach somebody how to listen to us if we don't listen to ourselves? Like,
Listen,
there's a whole process that we need to figure out.
there's one of my favorite movies is the Thomas Crown Affair, the latest one, not the first one, not the original. And so it's with Rene Russo and Pierce Morgan, and he's a billionaire, and he for fun steals really really expensive pieces, like $100 million pieces and things, just for the fun of it. And so Rene Russo plays this detective who is hired by the insurance company to figure out who's stealing these things, right? These incredibly precious works of art. And they end up falling in love, of course. But in the midst of the movie, there's this scene, this brilliant scene with this wonderful monologue, where Renee ends up in a situation with him where it looks like he played her. And so her heart is broken, but rather than feeling her feelings, she shuts down, becomes cold-hearted, and like does something to him that's like basically like diabolical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she shows up to the precinct like she's in her masculine energy now, like what? Like he didn't get me, I got him, what, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's this detective who's been working with her and observing her the whole time. And he comes up to her and he says, how you doing? And she's like, I'm fine. And he says, I was fine once. He said, I came home and I found my wife sleeping with, I don't know, my best friend in our bed, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I banged 5 chicks in 3 days. I got fired from my job because I like punched a guy out and like beat him to within a pulp of his life. And I wrapped my motorcycle around a tree, but I was fine.
Were you?
That's the
Were
point.
you?
It's like,
Yeah.
that's how a man is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not dealing. But
Right.
I'm fine.
Right. And again, we're taught that at a young age. The only emotion that we're allowed to have is anger. We can be, and we try to hide it and mask it in passion. Be passionate about,
I
when it
banged
comes to
5 chicks in
sports.
3 days. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Go get it. Like, go get it. That's how you do it. You ignore it. You just do other things because that's what happened. That's what you saw. You saw your wife or your ex or whoever do something to you. So you do it to them, or you just feel good for the moment. So you look for that quick, release. Look for that quick satisfaction. I always struggle with that word. Give me that satisfaction. I did it. I did it. So, but we look for that, and then we don't really deal with it. And then, like you said, later on down the line, we're like, why am I still here? Because I'm still doing the same things, and I didn't address it a long time ago. I didn't address it a long time ago.
Which is very interesting. With some of my male clients, one of the things that I found to be incredibly helpful, and I'm always surprised. I don't know why, because I'm not surprised with the women, but I'm surprised with the men. I don't know. I expect you guys to have it together. Like, I realize that that's my social construct. There's men have it all together, and then I'm always like, oh wait, that's right. No, they don't. They're human too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but what I found works, like I said, with my male clients is going back to the heart of the matter, going back to that first introduction of pain, wherever it was, whoever ignored them, whoever hurt them, whoever annihilated them or betrayed them or violated them in some way, and told them not to feel. You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to emote. You're not allowed to. And we go back to that spot and we tell that little boy he is allowed, right?
Yeah.
Allowed. Like, whatever his response is, there's no judgment on it. So if it's anger, if it's rage, he's allowed that because he's never been allowed that. If it's he wants to cry and he feels weak and he feels, helpless, he's allowed to feel that and to embrace that and to explore that. If he feels, I don't know, glee because the person who hurt him ended up getting hurt by somebody else, he's allowed to feel that. Whatever it is, we don't judge the feeling. We just explore it and make it okay for the purpose of him just having his hands and his fingers on the feeling. And through the process, my mantra to him is, you matter. You matter. You matter.
Yeah, validation. Yeah, validating that moment, validating what you're feeling. In my old office, I had a kids table in there because I used to see a lot of kids. And I said, you know what? Let's pretend you're that little boy or little girl sitting at that table. What's going on? Remind me of a time, like you just said, you give that example. And then literally they go there and they just do, I also do brain spotting, but they go to that table and they're just like, and you can just see their shoulders drop, the defenses drop, and they're just allowed. And I don't describe like, no, this is what you're feeling. I was just like, describe whatever you're feeling. There's no right or wrong way to just say it. Just allow yourself to do it. And don't allow society or experience to tell you that that feeling isn't real.
No judgment.
Let's just talk through it. Yeah, you speak.
Yeah. So whatever organically comes up is okay. Because at the end of the day, we all need validation. We need the validation of knowing that whoever we are in a moment, however something hit us, that's okay. Do you know what I mean? However it hit us. And what life tells us over the years is it's not okay, which ministers to our hearts unconsciously, I don't matter, which is why I'm doing all this other stuff. Because this thing I'm feeling doesn't matter. So forget that, stuff that down, get rid of that, then do all this other stuff and you can cover it up and you can move on and you'll be good. But you won't be good because something that happened a long time ago that was never addressed is still never addressed. And so it's having an effect on who you are today. And this is so important. The reason that the thing that came before is having an effect on you today is because it was never dealt with. Yeah. We think because we went through it and we're an adult now, I got to do that. I'm past that. I'm over that. What are you talking about? That didn't affect me. If there was never any room made for it, which is why I love the term holding space, if no one ever held any space around whatever affected you, it's still there.
Yeah. And we learn our attachment styles by our experiences with our parents growing up and all those different things. You guys should Google attachment styles. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to just say it without being right. I know there's anxious, avoidant,
what
all
all
that
the
type of
styles
stuff.
are?
Yeah. So I know there's 4 of them. I think there's 5 actually. We talk about 4 of them.
According to John Gottman, they are secure, insecure, anxious, insecure, avoidant, and disorganized. But I've heard them different at different points because we have anxious, we have avoidant, and we have disorganized. Okay, yeah. So it's secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized.
Yeah. And so how we show up, because imagine if you were validated growing up. So you're secure in your feelings, your emotions. Imagine if you were told, no, you're not supposed to feel that way.
Yeah.
So how is that going to make you feel whenever you're supposed to feel? You can't describe it. You're not allowed to. So you're avoiding it. You're avoiding the attachment with somebody else. And if somebody, if somebody didn't come to your and meet your need at that particular time growing up, you don't know how to receive that.
Yeah.
Or you specifically search that thing out, um, to a point
So we
where
have
you
the
don't even know
curse.
how to receive it. Yeah, you don't know how to receive it in a healthy way. You're constantly
Yeah.
needing that. Like, no, I need you to affirm me. I need you to be here. I need you to hold me. I need you to say these things. But you're only paying attention to those words, and you're paying to the repetition of, but you don't really know what the meaning of them is because you don't understand it. So I
Right.
break a lot of those different things out, these different cycles that we go through in life. And when you're in relationship with yourself first, with yourself and how you understand yourself, and then how that translates in communication and understanding with another person.
Absolutely. Secure attachment. That's funny. Um, I love the example you gave just in terms of like an insecure attachment or an anxious attachment, being that your your primary caregiver was not there. Either they weren't there to give you what you needed, or they were there, but when you emoted, your emotions were judged in some way. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't okay for you to feel what you feel. And
Right.
anytime it's not okay for you to feel what you feel, yes, when you're going into new relationships and new situations, there's going to be an insecurity there because if my primary caregiver told me my emotions are too much, why would I think that anybody else in the world could handle me, right?
Yeah.
I, I'm I'm halfway afraid that if I ever share too much of my heart, that's going to push you away. And since I really want to be loved by you, the last thing I want to do is push you away. And so I'm not going to share my whole heart and all of my emotions with you because if I did, I couldn't get what I want. And so then there's
Right.
like a hiding that's going on. And um, I was trying to say this a couple points ago, but basically, all that's ever required of any person on Earth at any point in time is like your own authenticity. Your own authenticity.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
about hard space and what you're feeling, etc. What I
Yeah.
am not saying is your feelings are allowed to impose on other people's feelings. I'm
Right.
talking
Right.
about your own individual, how you show up in the world. So if I show up in the world and I'm actually angry, I believe I'm glorifying God because that's the truth of my experience. In my
Mm-hmm.
anger, do not sin. Don't go being mean to people because you're angry, but my anger is not too much for God, so it shouldn't be too much for anybody else.
Right.
It's on me to learn how to express that anger in a way that people can hear it, in a way that I'm not threatening, and at the same time, in a way that I can get my needs met and I can express myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I believe makes God happy. It is the same with my happiness, my excitement, my sadness, my heartbreak. So no matter what it is that I'm feeling, and I say this because so many people are afraid of what they feel because somebody in their life told them feelings are bad, vulnerability is weak, crying is pathetic. There's no crying in baseball. We don't do that around these parts. Men don't cry. Women don't cry. Man up, woman up, whatever.
Yeah.
Put on your big girl pants. You're gonna go out in the world. Nobody. What do you think? Like nobody's gonna care if you're crying. They're gonna say you're a crybaby. I'm telling you, we even socialize girls like that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you better figure out how to get through it because nobody's gonna feel sorry for you just because your little heart's broken.
Right.
Okay, or maybe I could get a hug. Like maybe I can
Yeah.
get a hug. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and so, yeah, just in saying all of that, what it does to us, what that kind of messaging does is it acts as sort of a reactor where we do kind of what that girl did when she was like, I don't need a man for anything. And so she's got this whole system in place where all she needs a man for is what she can pretty much guarantee she can get from him. We do the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. We go, I don't need these feelings for anything. So let me just shut them down. And I'm just going to use I'm going to use the parts of my personality that I can access without it threatening anything else that I need
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
until that doesn't work anymore.
Right. Right. We normalize that behavior all the time. We normalize it because our initial safe space wasn't safe. So
Yeah,
now how do I create that outside of that? I created a safety zone within me that doesn't allow anybody else to be present.
that
You
part.
know, it doesn't allow anybody to be present, or nobody's ever good enough to be as present as I was with myself.
Right.
So there's so many different levels to all of this. I mean, I feel like after you just said all that, like you got it. I mean, we can move on to the next topic.
What you got, Bashea?
So I think one of the topics was that a friend said, we talked about being ready to be a husband or looking for a wife or to be in a relationship. Again, the self-work, because you can say that you're ready for a relationship and not be ready for a relationship because you don't really know yourself. You don't know how to handle certain things. So if you say that you want a wife, are you prepared to be a husband? And what does that look like? Are you looking to really understand what happens in relationship? Are you willing to cater to the relationship? Because sometimes you don't want to cater to your wife or your significant other because they disappointed you, because they let you down, because they did something to disrespect you. But I'm still committed to the relationship. And
Yeah.
I tell my clients there's a triangle. There's a man, there's a woman on that side, and then you got the top, which is the relationship. And you got the baseline, and then you're working towards the relationship. So what are you contributing to that top thing, which is the relationship?
That is so good. Largely, if the moment you get your feelings hurt in a relationship, the moment your partner offends you, your feelings are hurt, your pride, your ego, whatever it is, or even your heart is hurt. It could actually be, your heart. If the moment you are hurt, you allow yourself or you give yourself permission to check out and no longer contribute value to the relationship, you're not ready.
Right.
You're not ready.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because the person that we attract, nobody's going to like this, but I got to speak the truth. We are uniquely suited to be like hardwired to choose the person. If we were in a room full of 5,000 people, we would find the one person who is uniquely suited to bring out and trigger all of our early childhood everything, emotional trauma, daddy issues, mommy issues, all of that. You will find them. In a room of 5,000 people, you'll find the one person who's uniquely suited to do that. Why? Are we all sadistic? No. What we are doing when we are finding the person that we are going to couple with is we're finding the person who's going to help us to do our work. We're finding the person who's going to challenge us to go after our healing, and you can't fake it with this person.
Right.
So, yeah, I know. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's just the truth. So it's an invitation to healing. It's an invitation to do your work. It's an invitation to make the effort that you're supposed to be making for you to become the person you're supposed to become, a healed whole being. And that's why we were saying in the first hour, there's a certain amount of healing you can do as a single person. There's a certain amount of healing that will not be accessible to you, or wholeness that won't be accessible to you until you find your person.
Right, right. And just to talk about that too, and I think when we're looking, I know a lot of people say that, that the healed person, the healer attracts the sick. But at the same time, the healer is attracted to the sick because they find their purpose in healing the sick. So there's this constant codependency where they're interacting with each other. But what happens when the sick is healed? There's no purpose in the relationship, and now you can't find anything within that person or within that relationship. So if we haven't really focused on our triggers and the things that we need to work on, and if we're really working in that relationship and we identify what we're focused on, what we're paying attention to, and then we heal through that process as being the healed, then there's another level of, again, relationship and healing that happens within that relationship.
Right. And it's also is the only thing that you were attracted to, the healing of the other person, because that's a whole other, that's different dynamic.
Yeah.
That happens a lot of time, for instance, with people who you'll notice with these, if you watch these shows on, the extremely overweight people, that they usually have a circle of people around them who are enablers. And so you might have, this 600-pound person, and then you got a totally, normal sized spouse who's feeding them and going grocery shopping for them and getting them around, et cetera, and helping them through their daily activities. Well, the whole time they're saying things like, my spouse needs to lose weight, my spouse needs to be more healthy, my spouse needs to, et cetera. And then if the spouse ever actually loses the weight, you'd be surprised how many of the normal weighted person leave for exactly that reason.
Right.
And that's how you know you weren't with them for your healing. You were with them because their sickness or their illness made you feel good and it made you feel like you had something to do. So you're off to go find something else to do. Now that they are healed, you feel like you don't have anything to do. When the truth is, if you were actually healed in your own self and it wasn't that, then you would exactly what you said. Find new ways and new things to love about this person now without this air of superiority. Because if I'm not the well one and you're the sick one, who am I now?
Right. That leaves me with my issues. Now we're about to find out what I'm dealing with.
Exactly.
So now I'm vulnerable. Now I'm exposed.
Exactly.
But what do I do with that?
Exactly.
So a lot of times people,
What you do with that is you start finding your self-worth in yourself and not in I'm good compared to you.
Right.
You got to do your own work now. You have to find your identity in yourself. I say find it in God, find it in your own accomplishments, find it in your own abilities, your own skill sets, find your self-worth in yourself so that you don't have to keep projecting. It's not about comparison anymore, because that's something that's eliciting. That's something that revealed in you. You were attracted to them for a reason. You felt better than them.
Right. And it also is I'm good at healing you because it allows me to stay well at avoiding what I'm dealing with.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. If we could just keep talking about your issues, I never have to deal with mine.
Yeah.
And then one day I don't have any issues and we're turning around to go, well, now what are your issues? That happens a lot with people for whom you have one spouse who keeps saying, you need therapy, you need help. You need therapy. You need help. Now the person goes to therapy. They get help. They're working really well. They're getting things on track. They've stopped drinking. They've stopped smoking. They're running. They're losing weight. They're doing their thing. They got the credit good. They're, working with daddy issues, mommy issues. They're having interventions, etc. Now they're coming to you 3 years later going, well, I've been doing my work. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
Now you have everything that you asked for.
Exactly.
Now focus on everything that you needed me to be in the relationship. So how are we going to work together? Now you don't know what to do.
Which
now
I think
you
goes
can't
back
handle.
to what you said. When you said the things I was doing before are not working. Now you've hit that wall where it's time for you to deal now. You can't run forever. You can't run forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, it's about 10:45 over here.
It's about 7:45 over here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
I have completely enjoyed this session with you. This has been really, really wonderful. I think that there has been a great deal of value offered and added. I know for a fact so many of the people have said that this has been such a blessing to them in these times, which I think is a beautiful thing. So I thank you for sharing.
I thank you, and I appreciate you as always.
Yes, yes. So thank you all, everybody, for joining us. The first hour is in my story already. So if you missed it and you showed up here in this second hour, because this is the second hour, you can see the first hour on my page. Bashea is going to save this second hour to his page. And thank you, Whitney. Appreciate it. And
how do I save it again before we
Yes. So all you do, because it's not, and I'm so glad you said that. It's not going to give you the option to save because you can only save it if it was just you by yourself. It's going to give you the option to share it. So as soon as it goes down, there's going to be a big blue bar at the bottom, and it's going to say share. Just press share, and it'll go straight up. And it'll be available for 24 hours. So you guys can watch this for 24 hours. If there's anything you want to come back and write down or take notes on or anything you missed for the next 24 hours, it'll be available.
Yes, thank you. We'll do this again.
Yes, and if you're looking for a coach, Bashea is a coach. I'm a coach. If you're looking for a coach, if you're looking to do therapy, if you want some coaching, some counseling, whatever it is, you can DM either one of us. And
go get my book. It's literally these conversations in my book.
There you go.
It's in my book.
There you go. So pick up the book, y'all. And
Amazon.
And one more time, I'm teaching a workshop on Saturday. It's $30. It's on understanding femininity and how it affects your relationship with your man. So if you're interested in that, you can DM me. I'm Black Marriage Movement if you're coming from Bashea's page. And you can DM me and we can talk about that. All right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, y'all. See y'all. Have a good night.